but a new animal.
A new animal?
Exactly so.
You found one?
Yes. Here on my island, I hunt the most dangerous game.
Most dangerous game?
Most dangerous game? What could it be?
The game I am hunting is all of you.
We are going to hunt you cricket.
What happens if I get caught?
Ooh, don't get caught. Don't get caught. Oh, there he goes.
Hunt man? You raving maniac.
Well, conventional wisdom says good fleeing will always be good chasing. But the stats say put your money on the guy with the gun.
And the hunt begins.
Indeed. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to The Most Dangerous Podcast, a show about the most dangerous game and all of its incarnations. I'm Travis Fishburne.
I am Alex Brunel.
I'm Dustin Meadows.
And this week we are going to be covering the 1993 John Woo film Hard Target.
Hard Target. Hardest.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
A very hard target in multiple ways.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest target, some would say.
Not a soft part of that body.
Dustin, this was your pick, yeah? This was your suggestion? Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, this was fun. I'd never seen this movie before.
Oh, wow. That's...
Neither had I.
It's been 2 years since I watched both of them, but there is a lot of overlap between this and Surviving the Game.
There is. Yes.
Beyond just the obvious most dangerous game parallel.
It's almost even like, this is less of an adaptation of Most Dangerous Game and more that that concept is a launching point for this story.
Yes.
Whereas Surviving the Game is more of a riff on the idea of the story of Most Dangerous Game.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to cover that movie when we get to it. Probably in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know.
We have yet to decide.
I just I don't want to get too entrenched in the 90s. That's the only thing.
Oh yeah, because we've had 2 in a row now.
Yeah, 2 in a row. So we're gonna break it. We'll get to that later. We're gonna break it up next week. But we've said those things so far. So this movie, when a woman's father goes missing, she enlists a local aid in her search. The pair soon discover that her father has died at the hands of a wealthy sportsman who hunts homeless men as a form of recreation. The local aid is Jean-Claude Van Damme, in a very clever way to hide his accent, having the film take place in New Orleans. And disguising his Brussels accent as thick Louisiana Cajun accent.
I did not put that together until he goes to visit Uncle Wilford Brimley.
Uncle Moonshine.
Yes. And
Uncle
when he's
Duvet.
talking, I'm like, oh, they said it here so that he could be French and they could pretend that he's Cajun.
Right. Which
Yep.
never really works. But I like that there is at least something there. It's not just why it's not just Jingle All the Way where why is this mattress executive muscle bound beyond reason and from Austria? You know?
Are mattress executives not ripped in from Austria where you come from?
Not in Pittsburgh.
They're not that way in Ohio either.
Yeah, I mean, you could put that logic with any Van Damme movie.
Totally, absolutely.
Any Schwarzenegger movie.
Absolutely, and it never matters. It's always beside the point. It absolutely doesn't matter. I just in this movie, they
tried to
they considered it a little bit.
Oh yeah, literally the one time they tried to address it in a Schwarzenegger movie, it ended up as a deleted scene. So,
what was that?
In Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines, there is a deleted scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger, clearly dubbed over by an American actor, is the likeness and inspiration for the T-800 model. And somebody makes a comment because he's got this ludicrous Texas accent. They're like, he's a perfect, basis for this T-800 model. Let's do something about that accent, though. And then we get Schwarzenegger as is.
I feel like I remember watching that on the DVD, like, almost 20 years ago. But
yep.
Yeah.
The subset of people who explored the bonus features of T3 Rise of the Machines.
It is, sadly, it's one of the most memorable things about Terminator 3.
Oh,
little nugget.
I'm familiar with the deleted scenes being the most memorable. I still remember there's a deleted scene on the Alien vs. Predator DVD where Predator like makes a joke. Doesn't he like he fakes out, he holds up part of an alien, like puppets it and like fakes out an attack on like his human companion, and then like kind of laughs to himself when she gets scared, and then they just like continue.
I did not know that. I know there is definitely a scene in The Predator where the Predator holds up a severed arm through the front of a truck to give the driver a human thumbs up.
Yes, that happens. Oh man, what a franchise!
Alien vs. Predator, also starring Lance Henriksen.
We'll get to. I'm glad that we'll get to a Predator on this podcast too, because that's fun, and that's Predators.
That is. We can talk about all the ways that they try to like throw a spin on the the title Predator.
Yeah. Oh, great. That's gonna be great. Get psyched, people.
It's like Wolverine or the Fast and the Furious, where it's like, let's drop out these articles, let's replace it with this, let's put an ampersand in there.
We'll get one where they drop out all the vowels.
So I can't remember if this is something that I said on the podcast or if I just said this in conversation with you guys, but aside from Street Fighter and JCVD, I've never seen a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie before this.
I am in the same boat.
Okay, so
you've seen more than me with Street Fighter, because the first time I saw a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie was JCVD, which makes absolutely no sense. Looking back at it, I'm
actually,
like, why did I watch that?
You have it's not like I had a ton of context for what he was known for, but I had at least seen Street Fighter before seeing JCVD, but not even seeing anything and just seeing JCVD.
Just because at that time it was like, oh, this is a big like movie from him, and like he could get like best actor and stuff. So I went to see it, and
it is a fantastic movie.
Yeah, good movie.
Huge recommendation on JCVD. His performance in that movie is surprising.
I will say I think he's probably in more bad movies than good.
Yes.
But of those 90s era action stars, I think his action sequences are definitely among some of the best. He's easily one of the most graceful martial artists, because he's also ballet trained.
Yeah.
As well. So his scenes are fun to watch.
Absolutely.
Much better than, say, a Steven Seagal, who has maybe 2 watchable movies in his entire filmography.
Right. And like the thing about Van Damme is too, like it's not like he's the best actor. Like obviously, like I think like Schwarzenegger was a better actor. I think there are a lot of Seagal, obviously not. But but weirdly, Van Damme does have a certain weird machismo charisma that makes it hard to not like want to watch him. Like I don't want to hang out with him, definitely don't want to suck him off, but like I'll watch the movie, you know?
He is very likable, he is very charming. If you're looking for other Van Damme, Bloodsport is solid. Highly recommend Bloodsport. Street Fighter the movie is bad, but it's so much fun.
I want to see Sudden Death. It's the one.
Sudden Death is the one where he goes into prison, I think, if I remember right.
Is he not?
Or maybe that's Death Warrant. I can't.
No, that's the one. It's the one that takes place at the Pittsburgh hockey arena.
Oh,
okay, that's Sudden Death then. Yeah, Death Warrant's the one where he goes undercover in a prison. Okay.
Is he? Correct me if I'm wrong, but is he not also Time Cop?
He is Time Cop.
Okay.
Time Cop might be from start to finish his best movie.
I need to see
which I've said. I mean, obviously, you know, factors of this conversation existing, I haven't seen that movie, and that's a desperate gap in my knowledge. I feel like is
Time Cop's fantastic. But he's definitely someone you can get the cliff notes. Like you don't need to watch Double Team where he plays twins.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that.
You don't need to see. I think it's Knockoff, in which he co-stars alongside Dennis Rodman.
Right, that's about bootleg purses, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an action movie about like the fake clothing merchants.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And he might be the best part of Expendables too, because he plays the villain.
Oh yes, no, that is the other one of his movies I've seen is Expendables 2.
Okay, I've never seen an Expendable.
Yeah, he's a fantastic villain in that.
So yeah, I enjoyed him in this movie. I did enjoy this movie. I had a lot of fun with watching this. It's very much a time capsule. I was not prepared for how great of a team Lance Henriksen and Arnold Vosloo make.
Yeah, they were fantastic together.
I would love it. So there's apparently a well-known, and I've had a copy of it for years, but I never watched it, obviously. But there's a well-known 2-hour bootleg work print of Hard Target that more heavily features Henriksen and Vosloo. And Van Damme, who's also a producer and unfortunately had final cut on the movie, took over a lot of the edit and refocused the movie back onto him, which makes sense. He's the main character, but just, man, those two, the mummy and the gigolo himself.
Yeah. I think I was reading somewhere there. It just got released on 4K, and I think that includes the director's cut.
I think that director's cut is the version we watched. Like that.
Okay,
we watched.
So this is not the 116 minute.
No, this is we watched the international cut, which has the more violent opening and ending.
Okay.
Which, correct. Very violent opening, very violent ending. I cannot believe actually we watched the 4K restoration. That's the version that we watched.
Okay, cool.
So but yeah, that opening with the spinning arrow shot every 45 seconds or so. I don't know how many times we saw that shot.
Oh, a lot.
It's 3 or 4.
And it was only in that opening sequence. I kept expecting
it came back once at the end. No, that guy, that hunter, when he's in the group at the end of the movie, he fires one shot that we get the same arrow through the air shot, but we only cut to it once. He doesn't get repeated shots.
Yeah, well, I just expected that because the whole, the poster for the movie is Van Damme's face in an arrowhead. And I'm this is going to be a common, theme that's going on, but it was not.
Yes.
Yeah. Van Damme, the original Predator.
I was also reading about this movie. I noted the opening credits are happening, and I see Sam Raimi and Rob Tappert's name on this movie, which baffled me. So
and Ted Raimi's in this movie.
Raimi's in this movie, which is so great. Curious about that. I looked into this. This is not too long after Darkman, which was a fair success, and this is about the time that Raimi is in, or this is maybe just after Raimi had made Army of Darkness. And Universal was apparently very nervous about having John Woo direct an American feature because he did not really speak English at the time. So they basically had Sam Raimi on set to look over his shoulder and make sure that he wasn't gonna blow their money, and they were prepared to fire Woo and put Sam Raimi in the chair if anything went wrong. And the guy who wrote this movie, Chuck Farrer, also wrote Darkman.
I didn't realize that connection.
And also plays the guy who is killed at the beginning of the movie, the first victim.
I noticed, with his, I'm like, he doesn't have a lot of acting credits. He's more of a writer.
Yeah. So he wrote. I love his resume because it's not a long writing resume, but it does include Navy SEALs because he was
Navy SEALs.
He was a career officer and Navy SEAL, so he wrote Navy SEAls, Barbed Wire. We all remember that film. The Jack,
which people are revisiting now because of the Pam and Tommy stuff.
You know what? I don't think it's ever the right idea to revisit Barbed Wire. It was.
I saw a post this past week that's Barbed Wire is a lot better. It's one of those pieces where it's revisit this movie because it's better than you expect. I'm like, I don't think so.
I was the audience for that kind of movie. I was the 13-year-old who loved Tank Girl. Barbed Wire is just not a good movie. and that's unfortunate. But this guy also wrote The Jackal, Virus, and Red Planet. This
is Virus, the Jamie Lee Curtis one, yes?
Yes. That Virus.
Wow.
But I think that movie ended careers, no?
It definitely didn't do him any favors. I think that movie tanked. It's not a good movie. I definitely remember it being kind of an interesting movie, though. And it's definitely been one that I've wanted to revisit. But yeah, it is. Okay. It is a bizarre movie.
The other name I looked into, you know, I always look into the cinematographers on these movies, and the guy who shot this movie is a guy named Russell Carpenter, and his filmography. I've left out some titles here, but not a ton. Started with Critters 2 and The Wizard of Speed and Time. And Wizard of Speed and Time is, I've mentioned it before, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's on YouTube, and you know, that's a whole podcast by itself. I can't really get into it. But those were his start. Then Lawnmower Man, Pet Sematary 2, then this movie. So this is the jump. This is the now I'm working for the big studio shooting the big action movie. Follows that with Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Follows that with True Lies in the same year as Indian in the Cupboard. Goes on to shoot the Terminator 2 3D ride that was at Universal for many years. Then Money Talks with Chris Tucker. Then Titanic. Then both Charlie's Angels movies with Shallow Hal in between. Titles get less interesting for the next 10 years, but do include 21, This Means War.
I was going to say, stays loyal to McG.
Yep. And Monster-in-Law. And more recently has shot Ant-Man and Avatar 2 and 3. So I just love this trajectory for this human being. I hope Russell Carpenter's a good guy, because I just love the fact that the dude that shot Wizard of Speed and Time just shot Avatar 2 and 3. Wizard of Speed and Time is a very handmade movie. I mean that in so many senses. It's a handmade, labor of love, independent movie. And I love that the guy who shot that is now, hanging out with James Cameron in water tanks for 4 years.
Yeah, he did True Lies with him, and then seemingly doesn't do a few of his projects, and then James Cameron brings him back.
He did Titanic too, but then didn't do first Avatar 1, or there was something in between Titanic and Avatar 1, wasn't there?
No, that was it.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a huge gap.
Other than those all the documentaries he made.
Well,
it's good
those are the people who made this movie.
It's good that someone involved in Indian in the Cupboard kept working afterwards.
Hey, someone.
Yeah, and then Frank Oz.
Yeah.
Did Frank Oz do that?
He directed it. Yep.
Oh,
I
wow.
did not remember that aspect at all.
I didn't realize that.
I feel like I learned later that the Indian that was in the cupboard, that actor was also a rapper, Native American rapper. I maybe made that up.
Lightfoot.
I think this is verifiable with the internet, but I'm not going to type it right now.
Lightfoot, but not Gordon Lightfoot, yes?
Yeah, considerable achievements in music, film, and television.
Okay, great. Right. I'm not wrong. This is,
Also, Indian in the Cupboard has an awesome sequence in which we see Darth Vader battle a T-Rex.
Oh, it does have that. I forgot that.
That's when I think about that movie, I think about that time he puts all of them in there and he opens it up and you see all the crazy stuff. And I'm like, I want more of this. Please give me that movie.
That book messed me up, because one of the only things I remember from it is when he puts the old Indian figure in there, and then he has a heart attack as soon as he opens the door and dies. It's oh, cool. This child has just been essentially handed the power of God and doesn't know how to wield it. Cool.
That is true. The 90s had a lot of that going on, I feel like. I feel like that was not the only movie in which a child wielded? Yeah, the power of God.
Mm-hmm.
Held? No.
Spark welded.
Arc welded. So I guess let's talk about how this movie relates to The Most Dangerous Game, in which it doesn't really, it's fairly loose. the concept of the hunters has changed significantly, and I think in pretty interesting ways. But it is significantly different. Instead of one hunter being unsatisfied and making this his life, what we have is two guys, Lance Henriksen and Arnold Vosloo. Love Lance Henriksen's gun, by the way.
Oh yeah, that like single shot pistol grip shotgun thing.
Yeah, and I'm like not a gun guy. I'm very anti-gun guy generally, but so like what was I reading about this? It's some single shot weapon that has interchangeable barrels and can become like many calibers.
Yes.
But that was just like a very cool character thing. So like these two guys basically shop this service of, we will find a human being for you to hunt, that they sell for $500,000 to bored rich people. And they apparently move around the whole world to do this because they, eventually get caught by police. And they have a code of basically they're looking for homeless veterans with no family. Like that's the thing. They want people with combat experience who are like good prey, but also that no one's going to miss. So it's like, they have their bent morals about it, which is always a fun aspect for villains. This movie treats money in a very weird way. I guess that's a different topic than comparing. The battleground is different. We're in New Orleans. We're in the city. We're in an urban environment, and the goal is you have to get from this central point, which is like a factory or some John Wooey industrial area.
Yeah, like kind of derelict commercial area.
Yeah,
with a bunch of doves in it.
Yes, this movie had pigeons.
Oh yes, pigeons instead of doves.
And the goal is they have to get 10 miles through the city with a money belt on. If they can make it to the river with the money belt on, they would survive. And I kept thinking at the beginning of the movie that if the guy had just like taken a shot and fallen through and just lived in the river, he would have technically won. They wouldn't have killed. I don't know.
Yeah, if he just like swam to the other side or something.
But I also don't feel like the bad guys totally play fair, because like they have their biker Foot Clan people like totally corralling the prey the entire time. It's like how the Trump family hunts tigers. It's not an actual hunt.
Yeah, it's because like it's weird too that like usually like the rich business people are the ones paying for it, but then like they also get essentially a mercenary team to do it, whereas like at least with the original adaptation, like Zaroff didn't bring out like the hounds and like his servants and stuff until like after it was starting to look like he would lose.
Right.
Whereas this seems to like just be kind of
it's part of the package.
Mode.
It's part of that $500,000 package.
Hunt a human and you get Sven Thorson on your team.
And then it does kind of end foresty. We do end in the Bayou, which is super fun.
Yes.
There's a moment where it occurred to me that if it was like a news notification headline, or it's like a notification on your phone, it would say helicopter pursuit of man on horseback in Bayou. The bad guy helicopter that proudly supports bisexuals. Sorry, the whole sequence
where like he's being shot at. And I'm like, what kind of ammunition are they using? Because it seems like it's like a grenade
exploding.
launcher. Yeah.
It's all incendiary ammunition.
Yeah, Vosloo is definitely like carrying a grenade launcher at multiple points.
Everything blows up. There's a point in the final battle where someone shoots a barrel and then it just takes off like a rocket.
Yep. There's a scene when they get there with the cop where Vosloo shoots the sirens on the cop car and there's like a flame spurt from it.
Yes, it's great. And then the only other part that like really struck me as having a bearing on something referencing the original story was the one trap that Chance Van Damme's character sets for the hunters, which is great. He takes a rattlesnake, bites off its rattle, punches it in the face.
Yeah, the whole sequence with that snake is ridiculous.
Who would have thought that this would be the big thing that the Pest and Hard Target had in common was
The snake.
a prolonged fight with a snake.
And it seemed like they ever used a real snake. It was all fake.
Always a fake snake. Always a puppet
100%
snake.
of
It
the
was a
time.
better fake snake than the Pest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
well, the snake looked really good right up until the point when he is holding it.
Right.
And then, like, just punches it.
Yes, I love so much. It's always so funny. I mean, doesn't that happen in Lost too? Doesn't Sawyer punch the polar bear in the face at one point? Or Jack punches the polar bear? I think somebody punches a polar bear. It's always...
Yeah, I think you're thinking about in Jingle All the Way where he punches the reindeer.
That may be what I'm thinking of. And there's that movie with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin versus a bear, The Edge,
Yes.
where the bear is like the
Fantastic
most
movie.
interesting thing. I think they punch a bear. I mean, I love it when they're just like a wild animal. They don't.
But Harold Perrineau, also from Lost, does get ragdolled to death by a bear.
The Matrix Reloaded is Harold Perrineau.
Yeah.
Yes. In one of the Garth Ennis Marvel Knights Punisher runs, the Punisher punches a polar bear in the face.
Oh, okay.
To get them agitated because a bunch of mobsters drop into the polar bear pen and then get straight decapitated by an angry polar bear.
So my point,
I have heard of that from the Punisher
great.
comic before. I remember
So
hearing about that. So
It's a pretty great bet.
My point being is I love when people versus wild animals results in the people punching a wild animal in the face. And even better when the scale of the person to animal is like a 1 to 10 ratio of mass.
So Keanu Reeves field goal kicking a dog in Point Break.
Yes, like that. Yes.
Conan the Barbarian punching a camel.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, man.
And then Conan the Destroyer punching a horse.
I still haven't seen Conan the Destroyer. I need to revisit
It's okay.
Conan the Barbarian.
Barbarian is solid. Destroyer has some... It's worth a watch, but it's not as good as Barbarian.
I've only seen Barbarian once. Sorry, go ahead, Trev.
I was going to say, isn't Red Sonja in the same universe?
Yes.
Yes.
I think he's briefly in... I think Conan is briefly in that.
He is, but I think he plays a different character.
Oh,
but
really?
It's in the same. I think it's in the Conan universe.
Okay.
But I think he plays not Conan in it.
Okay.
Well, that's just weird.
Yeah.
It is.
The only time I've seen Conan the Barbarian was at a midnight screening a couple years back, and I went by myself, and I was like, it's tough for me to. It's been tough for me to do midnight screenings for like the last 5+ years. I'm old. I'm getting older. It's not as easy as it once was. Yeah. So, but like I powered through on that one. I stayed awake the whole time, but I was still in that state of mind of like forcing it off, and it was this very surreal experience. And I just remember there's like things that are so indelible, like the two guys just like chatting by the campfire, and their conversation is, "So what god do you pray to?"
Yes.
And then
Crom laughs at your four winds.
it's like, "I pray to Crom. He doesn't answer." It's like,
or when he's being crucified and he eats the bird out of the...
Yeah. Kills the vulture with his teeth.
And they're talking about, it's like, "Oh, who are you looking for?" "Oh, these guys, they're part of a snake cult." And there's an implication in this scene that there's like many snake cults. Like they have to figure out which particular snake cult is to blame
Samaria
here.
is just lousy with snake cults.
I loved it. It was so, I didn't anticipate it being so deeply weird. And
oh yeah, Conan the Barbarian's a blast.
So anyway, that was the extent of how I felt like Hard Target related to the short story. But did you guys notice anything? Did I miss anything in that?
There was
aspect of the
one
analysis?
cool thing in which Lance Henriksen is playing like a huge grand piano.
That is correct. That is true.
And I'm like,
yes.
oh, this is like Zaroff playing the piano.
I love that scene of Lance just like staring himself down in the mirror and furiously playing classical piano.
Yes.
My fiance made a comment when we were watching it. She's like, "Why isn't there a supercut of villains playing piano?"
There really should be.
Because there's absolutely been enough instances at this point. And I didn't even make the Zaroff connection, but yeah, you're absolutely right with that.
And Sarah pointed that out. I mean,
That's a good catch.
Props to Sarah.
Nice job, Sarah.
Look at our significant others, just knocking it out of the park.
So one of the other things that struck me as weird about this movie is really the amounts of money being discussed at any given time, except for $500,000 to hunt a human. That amount makes sense to me in both in $1993 and now $1993 translate to $2022. And that translation is almost a 2-to-1. I looked this up, inflation calculator. It's almost 2-to-1. So like the amount of money that makes Chance briefly stop in his tracks early in the film is $100 a day, which is $197 a day in today's money.
Yeah,
which
that was
just
so weird.
Which just does not seem like stop in your tracks money. But at the same time, he paid for his meal of shitty coffee and gumbo with a pocket full of change.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then Yancey Butler was seemingly attacked by 5 men for the $15 in cash she was carrying in her wallet.
Did you specifically look up like inflation and what everything was like in New Orleans in '93?
I did not do that.
How far
it could be a different country entirely.
Could have been a microcosm of the U.S. economy in New Orleans in 1993. That is entirely possible.
But no, yeah, she asks like, you know, like he asks what the job entails. She's like, does it matter for $100 a day? I'm like, that's not. That's not like carte blanche for anything.
Right. And even the amount of money they're offering to these homeless people to participate in the game is $10,000, which is $20,000. And like, I don't think, you know, like, sure, $10,000 or $20,000, that'll still like, you know, I can live in an apartment, I can buy some food, I can buy some clothes, but that's not like I can buy a car and buy a house money. That's not like this fixes my life. It doesn't like that for a person with nothing versus 10,000. Obviously it's a huge thing, but it doesn't seem like worth killing myself for money.
Yeah, that's literally like, even back then, even if you were incredibly frugal, that's maybe I can pay to live in an apartment for a year. That's what $10,000 is. And like, this is like, I'm going to pay down my debt, like get a car, like get laser eye surgery, and I don't know, like buy my way into Hollywood or something.
Right. Like basically to me, money felt in this movie like this was like 1970s money for some reason. Mm-hmm. And that was just a very weird thing that carried all throughout. I mean, even the past, he was offered $50K. You know?
Yeah. I will say the thing with the $100 at least, they did address that. He took that solely because if he didn't pay his dues,
his
he wasn't going to be able to work
Siemens
for
union
real
dues,
money.
right? Yeah. And like, sure, and I thought that was very funny. It's like, I'll work for you for 2 days for $270, and then at that point, that is the last we ever hear of. Except when like another character references like, oh yeah, or like actually no, like every character that is like, oh yeah, this guy, don't you owe money to your thing? Or I thought you were supposed to ship out. Like everyone knows that he's like supposed to be leaving for whatever reason, but like it totally goes away from the plot. Like that's another thing this movie does. It just ends. It just like stops happening.
It does.
Yeah,
when the credits start rolling, I was like, all right, there it is.
That's definitely, especially having gone back and rewatched like a lot of action movies and comedies from this era, like that is just kind of a staple of most 90s movies. They're literally just like, well, we killed the villain. Do we want to see how now let's just walk away and the credits will roll. We got it.
Yeah. Like I kind of would like to know, like, is Chance going to get on the boat? Like, you know, like literally stuff that the movie could tell us in one scene that takes 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not asking for like another 20 minutes of character wrap up. I'm asking for just like a 3-minute scene. Like, I would have liked that.
Yeah. I mean, I will say John Woo is at his best when he doesn't beat around the bush and drag things out.
That is true. I think that
Face Off, we get way too long of an epilogue.
That's true. I mean, like a thing that struck me about John Woo that I never really put into these words before, but as I was watching this, it's just like John Woo, this is pop art. Like it's the very definition of pop art. Like it's not like really that smart. It's not like the greatest thing, but it is very palatable and the best that thing can be done. Like you get like the things that this movie does, they don't get better than that, really. Like the way the action is, the way it's directed, and all the way that all adds up. It's such this pretty thing, and it's just like I love that kind of thing too, like the highest of the low.
Yeah, I think too with this, and he's even said so himself in retrospect, like there was a lot of stuff that he did with this movie that he was used to doing with his Hong Kong films that going back he wouldn't have done. Like there's some really weird editing in some early parts of the movie, like some unnecessary like slow motion takes, some weird dissolves and stuff that like don't quite make sense.
That weird pop art shit that I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he gets a lot better at it in his American films as he progresses.
Sure, yeah.
Face Off is too long, but beyond that, I think the rest of the movie works for what it is. The same with Broken Arrow, even Mission Impossible 2. Like, I think he found the right balance of his style and American films to make it work. This is definitely like him kind of figuring it out, and it feels that way.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. It's always so weird to like go back and watch the beginning of something like this, in any particular auteur or any beginning of a thing where you're like, oh, this is so played out and cliche. Wait, this is where this came from.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's sometimes hard to keep that in perspective. Like when you're not totally like me, I'm not totally familiar with the context, but I have, some of these things I just have to piece together because I never really paid attention to 90s action cinema. And I think I've seen Hard Boiled. I've still never seen The Killer. I've still never seen the other good John Woo movies.
Paycheck.
Yeah.
God, I forgot until I was
Better
going
Tomorrow.
back.
I haven't seen Better Tomorrow. Bullet in the Head.
I forgot until going back that he did Paycheck, and Paycheck is the least John Woo feeling movie that he's done.
There's no personality to that movie at all.
No. I finally watched it a year ago or so just because it was on, and I was like, I've never seen this. I like Ben Affleck. Let's give it a shot. And it's just, it's pretty bland, pretty by the numbers, and it's weird because I feel like for the most part, Philip K. Dick adaptations are usually pretty good. This one is just this exists.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Paycheck is very much that way. It's an unfortunate movie.
It'll always hold a special place in my heart right now because it's, as of right now, it's the only 5-point question I've been asked in the FCL.
That's awesome.
So, very nice.
And in the John, in this editing and the John Woo stuff, there's this one dissolve transition kind of in the first third of the movie, or first quarter of the movie, where it transitions from the first scene in the police station with the detective and holding her sad little birthday cake, and it's a close-up on this birthday cake that then dissolves to the harbor, and the birthday cake, the way it's framed, it fills the entire same part of the frame that the ocean fills in the dissolve, so the cake dissolves into the sea. And it was such a weird thing. I was like, it seemed so deliberate in its bigness that I was like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Obviously meant nothing. But
the ocean is the big birthday cake.
The ocean is the biggest cake of all. Cake is moist. The ocean, decidedly moist.
The ocean is decidedly moist.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't. I can't tell you you're wrong. That isn't flawless logic.
Precisely. It's funny though. This does have several of the other Woo trademarks. We get Guns Akimbo a couple of times in here.
Yes.
We get beautifully slow motion pigeons in place of doves.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny.
I remember them being in here. I forgot about them being in there right when Van Damme launches across the room to kick Lance Henriksen in the chest.
That was this so great. And then all the blood in Lance Henriksen's body came out of his mouth because Van Damme kicked it out of him.
Van Damme kicked the life out of him.
What a great unkillable bad guy he turned into at the end.
And he just goes insane in the last 5 minutes too. He's so menacing. He's so good at
Totally.
this.
So one of the things I was reading is that his jacket catching on fire was not intentional.
Oh,
his
wow.
jacket caught on fire, and all those people were standing around because they were like, dude, you're on fire. We should take care of this, is what they were thinking. But Lance just kept doing the scene and then yelled at them to get back to work.
Wow.
So that's Lance Henriksen.
When you've got Henriksen.
Seriously, though. Who needs method when you have a guy who will just do the scene until it's done?
That's like
I heard the
Ed
same
Harris
thing.
level of commitment.
I was gonna say I heard the same thing happen on the set of Aliens. He literally got ripped in half and kept going.
She's like, oh great, my milk blood's all over.
Now finish the scene. Oh man, I love Lance so much.
Oh, he's fantastic.
What a gift. What a gift of a human being. I don't know if you guys ever watched all of Millennium, but that show, just for watching like an amazing X number of episodes worth of Lance Henriksen performance, it's so worth it.
I only ever remember watching the episode that Kiss was in.
Oh.
But
that yep. Mm-hmm.
Lance Henriksen, he is fantastic in that, and he was entirely the reason that it was even on my radar that I even thought about maybe getting around to watching it someday. But the one episode I watched, he's amazing. I don't think he's ever been bad in anything I've seen him in.
No, he's always enjoyable. But like, you know, when in later years he would tend to just take jobs where it's just like, yeah, he'll show up. He'll like in TV way. I mean, he'll just show up. He'd say the lines. He goes home, and you know, it's fine. It's like the same as any good actor that like, you know, is a recurring role in like, you know, a CSI or NCIS or like whatever. You're like, you're always great. Like Mandy Patinkin, always great. Yeah. Super watchable. Never gonna watch those shows.
Yeah,
you know,
beautiful voice.
Yeah, loved him in Dead Like Me, but yeah, Millennium is a kind of an uneven show. Each season has like a very different personality, but very worth watching. What else do I have to say about Hard Target? Like, these action scenes are so great.
Oh yeah,
Van Damme is such a great martial arts performer. His hair is unforgivable. I cannot sign off on this hairstyle.
I will say for the time, I think he gets a pass because it was the early 90s.
Sure, but I mean, I am of the stance that it wasn't good then. So like, I felt that way about mullets in the 90s. I feel that way about the mullet now.
That's fair. I mean, if we were all held to stand trial for the things we liked or did in the 90s,
yeah, everybody
we'd all be in jail.
Yes, everybody do you. You know, you wear your hair the way you want to wear it. There's people in my life who I love very dearly. One of them, his name is Graham Kennedy. He has a mullet now, and I love him no less. But I do note in my head that he has a mullet.
Here's
I was going to say, I like that by Dustin's logic, anyone who just lived through the 90s would be put in jail.
Yeah.
Well, we'd all be really happy because then we could just talk about the 90s and incarceration for the rest of our lives. Sorry,
hey,
Dustin.
Remember the 90s? Jail. I will say, there are 2 times that I can three times off the top of my head that I can forgive a mullet. One is anytime Kurt Russell rocks it.
Mm-hmm.
2 is Danny McBride, because it's always for an ironic character and it works. And I will let it slide for Jean-Claude Van Damme, because when you can do the splits the way that man can, you can do whatever you want with your hair, as far as I'm concerned.
That is fair.
So not David Spade and Joe Dirt. Do not forgive that.
Correct.
No.
Improper use of the mullet by this definition.
Now, if he can do a time cop split on the counter like Van Damme, I will reassess. Steven Seagal can't do the splits.
It's true.
Get out of here.
What are some other set pieces I loved in this movie? The Uncle Moonshine's cabin. Uncle Wilford
Wilford Brimley's, yeah.
Where he just decides to blow it up.
Just blow it to hell. And I love that, you know, as soon as you see a wooden shack in an action movie, you know that thing's getting blown to hell.
Yep.
There's nothing else for a wooden shack to do in an action movie than to get blown up.
What's this building made of? Oh, only one of the most flammable things in the world that isn't newspaper.
And explodable. So explodable.
Yes.
Many pieces. Looks great in slow-mo.
It's like just a few days ago this week, I rewatched The Thing So I went from Wilford Brimley building a spaceship to Wilford Brimley building a moonshine distillery.
Oh,
I
man.
also, I might regret it if it actually existed, but part of me kind of wants more of Wilford Brimley just saying Cajun nonsense.
Yeah, I can understand about half of what he was saying.
Oh,
Like,
it's so good. Like,
he went all in on that accent, man.
It was so
I
good.
want I want a team up movie of Wilford Brimley's character in this and John Voight in Anaconda.
Oh man, I would love that.
Together.
I would love that if they were being pursued by Lance Henriksen and Arnold Vosloo,
Ooh, yeah.
who have relocated to the Amazon.
Wilford Brimley and James Carville together.
There we go. That's the movie.
Oh, this guy come out to small me go get you.
But I think we can all agree that Yancey Butler does not have a place in the sequel.
No,
or
Yancey
in
Butler,
anything.
Or Yancey Butler.
who Yancey Butler film debut. This movie.
She was trying.
Who frequently, I made this comment to my fiance while we were watching it, and she couldn't defend against it. Who frequently looks like somebody just put a finger in her butt. Because she has two speeds. Her eyes are either half shut or they are wide open in shock. Like this girl
That's what
gets
McClunky
surprised
means, is
by
the finger in
things
your...
more than anybody in a movie I have ever seen.
So you know how the Japanese and Germans have words for feelings that we don't have in the French. McClunky is the word for the face that you make when the finger goes into your butthole. That's what it is.
McClunky!
McClunky.
Yeah, it's really weird because like they clearly had a budget, so it was kind of surprising that they went with an unknown for the female lead in this.
Yeah, I only ever knew Yancey Butler from the Witchblade TV series.
That's literally the only other thing that I know her from, and I never even saw that.
She's the mother in the Kick-Ass movies.
I just saw that on her filmography. I'm like, oh, I've seen two other Yancey Butler things that I had no idea I saw Yancey Butler in. Also,
God, yeah,
the Witchblade TV series' existence is just hilarious to me.
She was in Lake Placid, the final chapter.
Skip that one.
If it's not Lake Oliver Platt's hit, I don't care.
Oh, man.
No Platt, no deal.
No Platt. Oliver Platt, man.
He's fantastic.
I never worked with him, but I interacted with him in a different scenario, like a service worker scenario, and he's kind of a dick.
Oh no!
Oh no! This is terrible.
Yeah.
Why would
we're going to be covering Ready to Rumble, Alex? And I want.
I could have. So when I was, you guys know, I'm not going to say where I was working, but you guys know where I was working in Pittsburgh post college, and I had when I was working the front desk, I could. Basically, there wasn't a real reporting system. You charged people to let them in, but if if someone came in that presented a student ID that went to BG, I would let them in for free because that was just too much of a weird coincidence. That happened like literally twice, but whatever. So I had the power at working at the desk. Anyone would have just oh yes, I've made an executive decision. You just go ahead. And there'd be, notable personages that working in Pittsburgh every now and then for one reason or another, and they'd come to this place because it was an interesting place to come. And, we would make our decisions at the front desk. Like, do we give this person a pass or do we charge them? He was just such a dick that I just took all his money and said the bare minimum of words at him and let him go about his way.
Oh no.
He literally came and just slapped a $20 bill or whatever on the counter and made no eye contact. Okay, man. Sorry to burst your Oliver Platt bubbles, guys.
Oliver when bubble went splat.
I'm gonna hold out hope, and maybe he was.
Maybe it was a bad day.
Yeah,
maybe it's a bad day. It was actually funny as I was driving home from work later that day. I drove by him on the street. He was just standing by himself, and he still had the same upset pug look on his face. So I don't know. Maybe it was a bad day.
Oh man, yeah. That makes me feel like maybe that was the case. I don't think my heart can handle the possibility that Oliver Platt's a jerk.
Well,
see, now you got me like looking up Oliver Platt and like looking at his personal life and like what was going on back then. I'm like, maybe like his wife had just left him or a kid had died or something.
do you see anything like that in his bio?
No, not yet.
What year? What year am I talking about? Probably 2008 or
9. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he was bummed because he got an offer for an X-Men movie and then found out it was in like the smallest role in that movie.
Which X-Men was he in?
He was in First Class. He's one of the government agents.
Forgot.
Yeah, like I think exactly. He literally has like 3 or 4 lines. But me being, the Oliver Platt super fan that I am, of course I remembered it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I just like looked back at my notes on Hard Target, and I forgot about what we were talking about pigeons to remark about when Chance winks at a pigeon.
Yeah.
There's a pigeon hanging out on his shoulder making bird calls for him, and then gives him a acknowledging wink.
Okay. Here's what was going on.
Okay.
He was in Roland Emmerich's 2012 and 09. And I think that is going to put anybody in a sour mood.
I mean, I don't know if getting paid to be in a big tentpole movie that's still bombed, but like, I don't know if that makes you be a jerk to service people, but
that's
whatever.
True.
Whatever. Oliver, he maybe is a good dude. I don't know. I interacted with him for 30 seconds.
I'm going to hold out hope, but if you ever work with him and he wrongs you, I will personally come to set and I'll kick his ass because you're my friend. I am willing to do that for you.
Dustin, I appreciate you.
And you know how much I love Oliver Platt, so understand how much
I
more
do
your friendship
now.
means to
I don't
me.
think I knew this before, but I'm very well aware now.
I love a curvy boy out there doing it for all us other curvy boys.
That's fair, and he is a charismatic motherfucker.
I'm
sorry, this movie's rated R, so I'm swearing. That can't be an issue, right? Does it matter that I'm swearing on this show, Travis?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just assumed that we were only not swearing on the Marvel and Star Wars
Yeah,
stuff.
like I kind of base my language on the content of what we're watching, and when we're watching a movie that a man kicks all the blood out of another man, and like the barrels explode in people's face, and
when a rattlesnake's rattle gets bit off, all bets are off.
See, here I've got another thing. We're Tufts University considered offering its Lights on the Hill Award to Platt in 2008, which is given to distinguished alumni. However, Platt was unable to return to Tufts campus, and the 2008 award was instead given to Jeff Kinder, chief executive of Pfizer. So,
oh wow, I think we should burn that guy.
Yeah, who wouldn't be upset about that? I'd be upset about that for at least 2-3 years, and I'm assuming they never offered it to him afterwards.
It does not say that he ever got it.
One of my favorite moves that Van Damme did at Hard Target, or that Chance does.
We're gonna swerve off of this.
Do we have more?
Yeah. Do we have a doctored soundbite that says "Stay on hard target"?
Stay on
target.
No, I need to fix that.
Stay on target.
But I love he does this thing a few times where he shoots a guy like 9 times, like damn near empties a clip into him, and then for good measure roundhouse kicks the guy in the head. He did it like 4 times, and it's because. And I had to think, like, if I learned that move, if I got myself good enough to where I learned the move where I could shoot a guy 9 times and then roundhouse kick him for fun, would I also do that? And the answer is absolutely yeah.
Oh yeah, especially if one of those guys is Fennel Thorson, you know you're gonna roundhouse kick that dude.
You gotta.
Like, hey, you went after my boy Jason Lee and Mallrats. I'm coming for you.
Oh my God, that was him.
Yeah, he's a security guard.
That was LaFours. Oh my God,
yeah,
the guy in the loud shirt was LaFours.
Cast solely because Kevin Smith loved his work as a heavy, primarily in Schwarzenegger films.
That is hysterical. And another Mallrats connection.
I need to pull all these Kevin Smith clips apparently, because last week it was 37, and now I got LaFleur.
There, yeah. Friggin' this movie was also produced by Jim Jacks, who was like the hero of Mallrats. He was like the executive at Universal who like got Kevin over there and like truly believed from beginning to end in how good of a movie Mallrats was. And he sadly passed away a few years back, but like Mallrats only exists because Jim Jacks thought it was a good idea. So thank you, Jim Jacks.
Rest in power, Jim Jacks.
What else?
Stuff Van Damme going head on head with the the truck while he's on the motorcycle.
Oh my God!
He upgraded moto surfing. He took moto surfing to the next level.
Moto surf.
Friggin' Surf Ninjas comes out in 1993. John Woo and Jean-Claude Van Damme take one look at that movie and they're like, "We're gonna do you one better, Surf Ninjas."
John Woo should have put Ernie Reyes Jr. in a movie.
That is true of like literally every action filmmaker in the 90s who did not put Ernie Reyes Jr. in a movie.
It's nuts that his career post like 95 has largely been just stunt work.
I know.
And not like on camera talent.
We discussed that at length on our podcast about Surf Ninjas, I do believe.
We did. I just want to remind the world that Ernie Reyes Jr. got done dirty.
I completely agree. Please see our podcast about Surf Ninjas for further thoughts on Ernie Reyes Jr., which we have a lot of, and they are recorded for posterity.
And the one time any of us had anything positive to say about Rob Schneider.
Well, yeah, well, no, I like Rob Schneider other times.
All right, the one time I had anything positive to say about Rob Schneider.
You don't enjoy Rob Schneider in Home Alone 2, like at the very least?
He's all right in that, I guess. You're right. The one time where he is prominently featured in a movie, and he was good throughout.
Okay, fair. I don't hate Rob Schneider. I don't love Rob Schneider. I'm not gonna watch. Did I watch The Hot Chick?
Also,
it's possible that I've seen.
I watched The Hot Chick.
My hatred also.
You know who directed The Hot Chick?
Oh,
is Tom Brady.
John Woo.
Oh no.
Tom Brady, the footballer.
No, different guy, but I just think it's funny.
Rob Schneider is the Stapler, rated PG-13.
That was the soundbite you had queued up.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for having that. Thank you for having that. Oh man.
I was going to say something and I forgot. I blanked.
Uncle Moonshine show. Oh, the other set piece I loved was I love the showdown that takes place in the Mardi Gras warehouse.
Yeah, the Mardi Gras floats. That whole final scene is so good.
What a great set piece. And like such fun action, like such cartoony nonsense. Like, and I love that this movie they reload clips based on story beats and action beats rather than gun logic. You know, he'll fire 6 shots, change the clip, proceed to fire 95 shots out of 2 guns, throw them away. You know, like it's really like the reloads and the changeouts are only to do with like breaks and action beats, which I love that heightened nonsense.
When he's shooting the gun and he's holding it upside down.
Oh yeah, when he does pulls the trigger with his pinky, that's on LaForce on Sven Ultra.
Very 90s move, yeah.
Yeah.
And another great thing about watching an action movie like at this time, like this was like close. This isn't quite pre-computer peak, but this is like very close to peak action at just before computers start enhancing stuff.
Yeah.
So like you really know that like everything you're seeing is like people that just did very unsafe things for our entertainment.
I love watching that. I love watching like old movies where I'm like, this literally happened.
Right. Like that's why I was saying like Lance on Fire. I'm like, they lit Lance on fire? Like what is
There's the moment right before he kills Van Cleef, Vosloo's character.
Yeah.
When he leaps out the window and the grenade explodes like right behind him. Oh boy, uncomfortably close, those flames. And then like he somehow manages to slide across like a dirt floor and then just shoot fake Billy Zane 10 times.
Right. There's also a shot, this is one of my favorite shots in the movie, And you could tell, like, I don't think Wilford Brimley was in any real danger because it was obviously like a super long lens which compresses space, so he's probably further away from this than it really was. But there is a shot of Wilford Brimley riding away from an explosion on horseback, which is just so great.
That whole sequence, like every shot where they were showing the explosion and you could see Wilford Brimley's character, I'm like, look at how he's riding that horse.
He's really riding
he's crazy.
that horse. He's really riding the horse. Like, and that's something I like too. I'm like, this movie features Van Damme, Yancey Butler, and Wilford Brimley like really riding horses. Like really like trouncing. And like also like riding a horse through the bayou seems like a terrible idea. That thing's gonna get R-taxed like nobody's business.
Yeah, also this is the least swampy bayou I think I've ever seen in a movie set in a bayou.
Absolutely.
I was like, they're walking on solid ground the whole time. Real missed opportunity too. Again, just like with the original adaptation, why are there no gator attacks?
Yeah.
Should have had a gator.
She like asks, should I be like concerned about gators? And he's like, sure, if that makes you feel better.
Well, I laughed my ass off because I forgot about the Chance asked Duvet, his uncle, if he had the 30-06 that he got him, and he just goes, "Oh, gator ate it."
But I
do like a gator ate a gun? What?
But I do have your dusty silver shotgun.
Yeah, the old nickel-plated shotgun that I do coke off of when I'm waiting on a new batch to finish fermenting.
I was just thinking, like, that was great. I love that gun. I wish that I actually, that was one thing I wished about the ending, is I wish that gun had stuck around longer. Like, I wish like the hero weapon had kind of survived.
It was a pretty badass gun.
It was a like very funny, cool looking gun. Like that gun versus Lance Henriksen's, like whatever that was.
That's so going back to that gun. There, I have a friend who I'm not friends with anymore, largely in part because he became a cop. But he's a big gun guy, if you can believe it.
Oh, shocker!
And he was telling me some stuff about like similar style guns, and there is like a version of that gun called the Judge. That's essentially a shorter stock, but it's usually carried by circuit court judges, and especially like in the Old West days, because it was easy to secure and conceal under their robes, and it was one of the most devastating guns that you could quick draw, and it would do the most damage at close range.
Interesting.
Like if they were ever, harangued by criminals or whatever else, so like it was what they kept on them for their protection.
Interesting.
So yeah, Henriksen's gun is not too dissimilar from that style of pistol.
So it could literally be judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah. I think in Justified, Stephen Root's character, who's a judge, carries something similar on him.
Oh yeah.
Over the women's underwear that his character also likes to wear.
Oh. Gotta love Stephen Root.
Yeah. One of the other sequences I liked, I got sidetracked with the gun thing. There's literally a moment in here between Chance and Van Cleef that straight up is clearly the blueprint for the same scene in Face Off 4 years later.
Oh yeah.
Where they're on either side of the wall talking to each other.
Yes.
And then they just turn and start shooting at each other. It's so good.
Which is like, yeah, that's a Woo hallmark too. Like I love that shooting at the wall through each other thing.
Yeah, so great.
Such a 90s.
I had to look it up because the thing that I think probably most people are familiar with Fazley for is the Mummy movies, which he barely speaks in, and when he does speak, he's speaking Egyptian. So like this is one of the few times that like jumps to mind where it's like, oh, this is actually how he talks, his accent, because he's South African.
Right.
Because I was trying to place that for a minute. Yeah. Oh, he's a fantastic villain.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, like you said, Dustin, fake Billy Zane, because Sarah swore, she's like, is that Billy Zane? I'm like, no, it's the guy from the Mummy movies.
You put Billy Zane in Demon Knight next to Arnold Vosloo in this, and if somebody had to shoot one of them, they might not pick the right one to shoot. That's all I'm saying. it's a real missed opportunity that someone didn't make the Zane Vosloo team up movie that we should have gotten.
Oh, that would have
The
been
face
great.
off, like John Woo makes face off with the two of them, and it's
It's like they don't even swap faces, but they're not sure if they're themselves or not.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be a fun meta movie.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, we're essentially getting that with this new Nick Cage movie coming out next month.
Oh, I'm very excited for that.
It looks stupid good.
Unbearable weight of
massive talent.
Massive talent. Mm-hmm. Is that what it is? Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Cannot wait.
Oh, yeah. Looks so good. It's essentially Nick Cage's JCVD.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I feel like he's had more than one of those throughout his career too. Like, I feel like even, I mean, like, it's not self-reflective in the way, but in the way where it's like they get to do an interesting thing that's a real performance that makes people remember, like, oh, this person is interesting. You know, like Cage has one of those like every 5 to 7 years, like maybe 5 to 10. Like, it happened. It was like there was Bad Lieutenant Port of New Orleans. I feel like there was another one in between that and Mandy, but then Mandy definitely like where people were like, oh, yes.
For sure. Pig last year.
Yeah, I was going to say, and now with Pig even.
He's so good in Pig. Which I had my issues with that movie, but I thought his performance was great. I didn't dislike the movie. I thought it was great, but you know, I wouldn't nitpick if I wanted to. But yeah, love Nick. I even watched Willy's Wonderland because I love Nick Cage so much.
Willy's Wonderland was a lot of fun. It's not perfect, but it's
not that bad. Like, pretty fun.
No, it's a very easily consumable, fun. Like, it's only like 90 some minutes.
Yeah, it's 90 minutes, and Cage does everything. You know, he wanted to do the no dialogue thing, and he did a great job.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that going into it because I remember reading that he had done some movie in the last year or two where his character basically doesn't speak the whole time, and I didn't know it was this one going into it. And about probably 20 minutes in, I was like, this has to be that movie, right?
Yeah.
It's like literally he only communicates in grunts, sips, and hip checking a pinball machine.
So good. I don't know if I have any further thoughts about Hard Target. I liked this movie. It has strayed the furthest from the story subject, or the story structure, and in general of the movies we've approached so far. But you know, that's where it takes us too. Because I mean, this is not even, you know, like The Pest. There's not even like a story by or inspired by thing at this point. Like, this kind of concept of rich people hunting some kind of subjugated people in whatever way is just an idea that exists in the public domain to the point that you just do the thing.
I'm gonna be real curious when we do finally get around to Surviving the Game, because I want to see what the production timeline was for each of these, because oh boy, just the similarities are just real heavy with
well, that comes out in 94, so right after this.
There you go.
Yeah, so, you know, and I don't know what the shooting overlap or anything of that was. It'll be interesting to see if we could figure that out. What the actual like dates were. It looks like Hard Target was shot between October of 92 and January of 93. Hang on. Typing. I have a picture of Charles S. Dutton in Surviving the Game in my history, so I can navigate from there. Okay, so this was shot August 93 to October 93. So Hard Target, when did it come out? So like that came out in August of 93, like a week after. It came out 1 week after they started shooting Surviving the Game.
Oh. So you think like the crew went and saw Hard Target and was like, oh, okay.
That's possible that happened. You know, it's possible that it was like, you know, one of like a Capote, or I can't remember what the other Capote movie was, or the
Infamous. I
Infamous.
think was the other
Yeah, I don't know if
Toby Jones.
Toby Jones.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that kind of a thing. You know, an illusionist prestige kind of a thing, where it's just kind of like it happens to be like a zeitgeist thing where two people happen to do the same thing.
Paul Blart Mall Cop and Observe and Report.
Right, yes. I guess.
Deep Impact.
Solely
Deep
because
Impact to
Observe and
Armageddon.
Armageddon.
Yeah, well, Observe and Report came off that way because it was marketed
It was marketed
completely
that
the
way.
wrong way.
Observe and Report is so good. Have you ever like in your home, in the comfort of your home? I don't know why I've never seen a movie theater program that's double feature, but if you ever double featured Cable Guy and Observe and Report back to back, it's a
No, but I
double
should
feature.
because that's pretty solid. Because I mean, yeah, Observe and Report I always basically compared to it's essentially because that's that Jody Hill, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's basically just Jody Hill doing Taxi Driver, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but like the thing for both those movies, you have the multi-million-dollar comedy stars who are in the dark movie that no one thought they were getting. So like that is the common thread between those two movies, and it makes for a really interesting double feature. And I remember the one time I did that in this apartment was the night that they killed Osama bin Laden.
Oh.
I remember like learning during watching Observe and Report that night that Osama bin Laden had been killed.
Oh wow!
Moments in history, brought to you by Most
by
Dangerous
Chris Pratt
Podcast.
is who killed him.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, Chris Pratt did it. So yeah, do you guys have any closing thoughts on?
A few more thoughts on Hard Target.
Great. Please.
Yeah.
They kept referring to Yancey Butler's dad as her daddy and her papa.
Yep.
Like never father. Like
Never father. Even the police,
Jean-Claude
even
Van
the
Damme,
detective.
the detective keeps calling him her daddy. Which I just thought that was funny.
Also, oh my god, the poor detective who exists basically to really not contribute anything and then just gets shot in the chest 2 days after her birthday.
Yes. And also, did you guys notice how, I mean, like, obviously Chance has a huge bearing on the story and, you know, all the stuff that happens down the line. But to speak to the task that he was hired for, which is to find her father, he did not participate in that even a little bit.
No.
He brought her to a person that she had already spoken to, who then volunteered his new information.
Well, he finds the second dog tag.
He does find the second dog tag on his own. That is true.
He investigates the burned warehouse site where they found the body.
That is true.
So he does make that development, and that's what sets in motion Henriksen and Vosloo's characters.
Fair. I overlooked that.
Ends.
Good point.
But yeah, the cop serves almost no purpose other than to remind us that cops are largely useless.
Mm-hmm. And they put lit birthday cakes in drawers that could is a huge fire hazard.
And you know, and because pop art, the candle just burns down. It doesn't burn out in the lack of oxygen in the drawer.
Yep.
Yeah. That poor cop. They just left her dead on the street.
Yeah.
Like they just left. And also that was another thing, like when they kill Roper, the second victim.
Yeah.
They just gun him down in the middle of a very populated public street.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Was I guess their thinking was like, well, we're getting out of here anyway, so like whatever. We're leaving town anyway. We can commit broad daylight murder and just, you know, the nighttime equivalent of broad daylight murder, I suppose. If that's a thing.
Did I know we talked about this off air. Did anybody actually look any more into the sequel that got made to this 23 years later?
Did not.
No.
Did you?
Other than me finding a copy of it at my local library. But they do not have the original. And I'm like, what's this?
No, I kind of wish I'd thought to do that before, because I'm curious if they even if they attempt to make like a real connection at all, or if it's just a connection in name only or not.
It came out in 2016.
Let's try to find out. Let's see. Wikipedia, tell me something.
Ronan Mitra clearly needed a paycheck.
It apparently continues the human hunt theme, but takes place in the jungles of Myanmar and Thailand. Connected in any other way? It just seems like it's connected by that idea. It doesn't seem like it's connected by characters at all.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured was probably the case.
Moira Morrison's in it though.
Oh wow.
So, if we wanted to watch a lesser known Rona Mitra Tamora Morrison vehicle, could spend our time.
The father of the
way.
hangman's daughter himself.
Yeah, father of the hangman's daughter himself. Man, I would not want to go
ending
shoot.
on the sequel, instead of ending on Creedence Clearwater's Born on a Bayou, it's Run Through the Jungle.
Ooh.
There you go.
That's a joke. I don't really know that.
Yeah, and I'm also noticing in the writing credits that there's no like based on characters by or like, anything. So
yeah.
Scott Adkins doing jobs.
Yeah. Well, before we end on Hard Target, I did send over some stuff about Star Trek.
I forgot this,
Trek
and I apologize. Let's look at this contraction right here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put. I'll drop this in the chat for Dustin here.
Oh, I looked at it.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I sent it to both of you this time.
Oh, great.
So,
yeah, that is Sven Thorson in Star Trek. Yes.
No, that is another guy. So here, hold on. First, let me play the.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
So the actor's name is Tom Lupo. He plays a character named Jerome in Hard Target. Is that the guy on the far left, Harris? Dustin?
So the guy in the far left of the picture is Sven Thorson.
Okay,
yeah, that's.
I thought. All right, well then I am way off because I was like trying to like place it, and I'm like, this is the like I couldn't find out who Jerome was.
Right, because we don't know any of their names.
Yeah, so then I, just disregard that graphic because that is completely wrong.
Yeah,
well, the graphic on the left is from Hard Target.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But that is not the same actor, even though I was throwing this looks like it's got to be the same guy, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who Jerome was, and that it's not ringing any bells.
No.
But Jerome is this red shirt?
Yes, Jerome, Tom Lupo is a red shirt who appeared in 3 episodes of Star Trek: The Original Series, the Menagerie Part 1 and 2, and this particular one is from the Alternative Factor.
So wait, if he was in the Menagerie Part 1 and 2, was he in the cage or was he in the wraparounds that were shot for the Menagerie?
You know what? I cannot tell you for sure. I don't know. I didn't look that deeply into it because he's more notably from the Alternative Factor episode.
Got it. Okay.
And that's because Bones here he's about to tell Kirk.
And would you get that muscle man out of my sick bay?
It's referred to as a muscle man.
That's great.
Yeah, Tom Lupo does not have a ton of acting credits. Like other than this is Star Trek and a few other things. He did a lot of stunt work.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I
This would be
can't find
stunt
a
people.
picture of him in Hard Target at all.
Yeah, no, I've tried. I've seen. I've got stunt work of him and like other things, but not Hard Target. Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. He's done stunt work for Tom Selleck, is doubled for him, Paul Newman, Robert Shaw, Chris Christopherson, Nick Nolte. Yeah.
Interesting.
Huh.
So whoever Jerome is this red shirt. So.
And would you get that muscle man out of my sick bay?
Oh,
The
DeForest
only-
Kelly.
Maybe might be the coroner, but because it looks like if he was anyone, he was either one of the businessmen or their coroner on the force that was helping them cover stuff up. Yeah, I can't find anything. So.
Oh well. Could he be the guy that Jean-Claude Van Damme very viciously breaks his arm? You remember when that happens?
I
Could
think
be.
the
That's a
age
great
would be
moment.
way off at that point. But that's a great scene too, where he beats the hell out of the 4 dudes.
Oh
yeah.
Like one of my favorite things, because this also happens in Universal Soldier. where like Van Damme is just like in a diner, and all of these people who clearly are not built to go toe to toe with someone built like Van Damme think that they can go toe to toe with Van Damme, and he soundly beats the shit out of all of them.
That's great.
Like, I can understand why 5 people would look at Steven Seagal and be like, yeah, we can take this guy. But, like, I don't understand how anyone sees Van Damme, like, at all. And it's just like,
yeah,
no, we can beat him.
Yeah, those guys in that scene, like, just taunting him. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why do you want this to happen to you?
They want that $15.
That $15 can buy a lot of coffee and gumbo in a town like New Orleans.
I will say to those guys' credit, there is one of them, he goes in for a roundhouse on Van Damme, and then he, like, foot sweeps him.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm like, oh, this guy is trained in the martial arts.
Yeah, the guy's roundhouse is solid. It's a solid roundhouse. It's just too bad it doesn't connect.
That was the only time that the fight choreography ever felt to me, like, literally that move, that one moment was the only moment that I felt like, oh, this is Hollywood stunt work. Like, that was the only time where I felt like it was like, that, you know, like, that, why is this street thug dancing around like this?
Yeah.
But it's still a fun moment.
Oh, yeah. He's also got that great moment where he knocks the dude down on the hood of the car and then throws the guy feet first into one of his buddies.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, the fight, the hand-to-hand stuff, like, all the action in this movie is great. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Travis, did you have any other bullet points?
No, I don't think so. Now I'm just, like, obsessed with trying to find out
what
who
was
Tom Lupo is.
Oh, okay.
In this movie.
I thought you were going to say to figure out what was going on in Oliver Platt's life.
Oliver Platt, yeah, that too.
This is Travis's Zapruder film.
What did you just sent me another picture, Trav? Is this maybe this guy?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, the arm breaky guy.
I can't tell.
All right, now our viewers are seeing a graphic of what may be the person we're talking about.
This guy seems too young. I don't think it can be.
Yeah, no. But Van Damme staring directly down the barrel of the lens is pretty great. Look at him looking your soul. Anyway. So next week we are going to be discussing the 1982 Australian movie Turkey Shoot.
Hell yeah.
Which I have never seen. Very excited about. I'm gonna bring up.
I've never seen it.
This is a sci-fi movie. I'm gonna bring up a synopsis and then find out where to watch it. In a dystopian future where deviants are held in re-education camps, a freedom fighter and a wrongfully accused prisoner form an alliance to survive their decadent oppressor's game of kill or be killed and turn the tide against them. Starring Steve Railsback and Olivia Hussey. So,
Olivia Hussey.
That'll be interesting. I don't know the last time I've watched Olivia Hussey in a movie. So, she was in something.
Black Christmas.
Yes, that's what I watched in the last couple of years that Olivia Hussey was in. Yes.
Literally all I know is Black Christmas and the Romeo and Juliet from the 60s, the one that has Michael York in it.
Oh, yeah. So it seems like this movie is streaming on a variety of platforms, streaming for free on Plex, streaming free with ads on IMDb TV, also streaming on Arrow Video's streaming platform, free with ads on Vudu, free available through Canopy, Travis, which that's the library thing, I think, right? Is Canopy available on AMC streaming if you're subscribed to that, or on Shudder, I think as well.
Oh wow!
Or available to rent on Amazon or Vudu.
That was a very available movie.
So yeah, Turkey Shoot, easy to watch.
Easy to find, at least.
Easy to find. We'll see if it's easy to watch.
Easy to watch.
Is this going to be a first viewing for all three of us?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a lean 93 minutes. So
perfect.
So that's what we're in for next week. 1982's Turkey Shoot.
Cool. I think one way or the other, we can find like a special guest maybe for next week.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
That'd be very fun.
Are we gonna get Olivia Hussey?
Oh.
Yes. Oh.
Sorry, did I spoil the surprise?
All right. And on that, Trev.
All right. Well, Dustin, in the meantime, where can people find more of you?
Check me out, DustinMeadowsComedy.com, at Dustin Meadows on Instagram and Twitter. And you can check out my podcast, New Metal Who Dis, on all your podcatchers. We got a new episode we'll be dropping this week covering System of a Down's Toxicity, so check that out.
Nice.
All right. And Alex, how about you?
I am on social media that I don't use, at Alex Brunel, but mostly I'm here on this podcast talking about movie versions of The Most Dangerous Game. Please join us. Continue to do so, won't you?
Yeah. You can find the show at Who Watches Pod at Gmail, or at Who Watches Pod on Twitter, at Who Watches Podcast at gmail.com. Like, subscribe, review.
We're on so many podcatchers, all the podcatchers.
Yeah, all of them. Leave the feedback. You can find me at Travis Fishburne. And so, once again, Bones, tell this muscle man to leave.
And would you get that muscle man out of my sick bay?
So stay alive and survive.
So that's your most dangerous game.